understand well.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. So, thank you for giving this opportunity
Mm.
to speak to the young minds today. I hope we're going to have a lot of fun. I believe we've been having fun all through. So, let's move on, please, to the next slide. So, actually, today I need to speak about a day in the life of a researcher. So, a researcher is someone who asks questions about how the world operates and tries to find answers by studying, experimenting, or collecting data. So, they don't just guess, they look for proofs, and researchers can work in anything from science to history to health, technology, and many other areas. But today, because I'm a microbiologist, so I'll be speaking more in the line of the microbiologist. So I don't know if you've ever wondered what it will be like to work with invisible life form. So let's find out. Next slide, please. So what is microbiology? So microbiology is the study of these very tiny living things like bacteria, viruses, fungi, archaea, a lot of things that are too small to be seen within the dead. Next slide, please. So, what is the big deal about studying microorganisms? Don't they just make us sick? Are they not just germs? Yes, some microbes can make us sick, like the flu virus, the COVID-19 virus, E. coli, and the likes. But the twist here is that less than 1% of all microorganisms are germs. And if you look at the bigger picture, a lot of microbes are beneficial to us humans and the world at large. So can we move to the next slide? So here you can meet the good guys who are there for protection, protecting us against harmful invaders. We also Microbes are also involved in recycling, breaking down of waste and dead matters. Microbes are also involved in production. They create essential nutrients and compounds. And microbes are also essential life supports. They enable biological process all across the ecosystems. So if you look at the human body, you will see that the human body has over Next question, please. Next slide, please. The human body has over 100 trillion microbial cells, which is even bigger than the numbers of cells we have in our body as humans. And they form about 1 to 3 of the body mass, as you can imagine. And these tiny residents in our body help us improve digestion, production of vitamins, and they help also to train our immune system to fight against diseases. Can you go to the next slide? And if you look at microbes in the line of food to your plate, microbes are involved in yogurt production, cheese production, bread, and fermented food. Next slide. Microbes are also a big problem solvers. When you look at biotechnology, they are like the main house of biotechnology, from medicine where they are used in the production of antibiotics, insulin, vaccines. Microbes are also involved in bioremediation processes. They help in cleaning up oil spillages. Microbes are also important in creating renewable form of energy, such as biofuel, methanol, and the likes. And microbes are also an important tool for for genetics, for research and DNA editing. Can we go to the next slide? So here is the microbiology. So who are microbiologists? Microbiologists help solve big problems. Like I said, they help in fighting diseases, cleaning up the environment, and help in growing better food. And like I said, I'm Dr. Samuel Awala, and I study microbes that affect climate change and the environment. And one of the cool facts of these microbes that I study is that they eat the greenhouse gas methane. I don't know if any of you have heard of methane before. This is one of the main problems we have in this new age. It's rapidly destroying our climate as we are. Can you move to the next slide? So, when you say a typical day in the life of a researcher, like I said, I'm speaking more in the line of a microbiologist, but this also applies, I believe, to every researcher in one way or the other. So, my typical day involves me arriving at work around 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. sometimes and reviewing my daily schedule and research priorities. I start with emails and planning experiment. I check my cultures, my bacterial or archaea culture growing in the incubator. And around midday or an afternoon, I have to prepare equipment and media for my experiment. Then I run the experiment. Sometimes I need to extract DNA or grow microbes. And after all this, then I need to analyze data. And analyzing the data is more like solving a puzzle. Then in the afternoon, sometimes till late in the evening, sometimes I have to be there interpreting my result, generating data, generating my report, and also having kind of team meetings, members of my lab, maybe with my professor or some younger colleagues. And the other thing is I need to read or write science paper. I'll go to the next slide. So what is the fun part of it? There's a Bible verse that says, when you see a man that is diligent in his work, he shall stand before kings and not before obscure men. So one of the interesting part of the work is sometimes you have to get this kind of scientific breakthrough, such as discovering new microorganisms, discovering new vaccines, discovering new antibiotics, discovering new processes that are hidden in our eyes. And sometimes we have to travel for science conferences. Sometimes we just go for fun. We go to mountain peaks just for fun. And one of the interesting things also, you see your work, you win awards, win prizes. Your work is is in the news and the likes. And sometimes you have to also work with students and sharing what we know. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. But the truth about it is not all that glitter is gold. There's always this not so glamorous part of being a researcher, not just a microbiologist. Sometimes your experiments fail multiple times. For me as a microbiologist, I have microbes I'm just trying to grow, and in their tiny world, they are not just responding to me. So how do you do this thing? And I have an example. I don't know if all of you have heard of the famous inventor Thomas Edison that talked about in inventing the light bulb. He tried 999 times and he was able to succeed at the 1000 time, and he said, I have not failed. I've just found 999 ways that it doesn't work. So Edison did not give up. Even after so many failed attempts, he kept learning from each mistake until he finally succeeded. And this is a perfect example of how important perseverance, curiosity, and problem solving are, especially for researchers and inventors. So every failure brought in one step closer to success. And if we look at it from the aspect of the Bible, in Hebrews 12:2, it says, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despised the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God Almighty. So sometimes at night I cry, maybe when my result fails, or maybe what I'm expecting is not what I'm seeing. And the other not so glamorous part of it is report writing. Sometimes that can be very stressful. You have deadlines, you have reports that you need to send to grant organizations and stuff like that. Well, I said this one, wearing protective gloves sometimes, although it's for the protection of you and every other person that is around you, but sometimes it can be very not very comfortable sometimes when you have to wear the old protective gloves all over, especially people when they were treating the COVID-19 viruses. You hear to see people wearing these protective gears, which was very uncomfortable for them. Next slide, please. So how can you become a microbiologist? One of the first things I say is stay curious. I believe this is not just for a microbiologist, this is for every researcher. You have to ask questions, why and how. My professor back in South Korea always say, to be a very good or to be the best researcher, curiosity should be your number one target. You have to ask questions. You don't just accept what you're being told. You have to ask questions, why and how. You have to explore the world around you. Even a pod or a piece of bread has microbes, so you need to ask why. How do they do this? Then the other thing, you need to build your science skills in subjects like biology, chemistry, math, and even physics. And as of today, even as a microbiologist, you need to know how to use computers. You have to be very skilled in computer. And sometimes you shouldn't worry, even if it's hard. Scientists make mistakes and learn from them all the time. You have to try fun science activities like joining science clubs, fair or after school program. You try simple experiments at home like growing mold on bread. I remember when I was in my primary school, I remember when our teacher taught us something about the something physical and chemical. I can't remember. So I went home and I was trying to see if by burning a piece of paper, maybe the piece of paper could regenerate itself after burning. I was so really curious about it. It sounds stupid, but I already had that curious mind right from my primary school days. Then the other thing is you need to keep going to school. And what I mean by this is, apart from your high school, you need to go to the university. Sometimes after your undergrads, you need to still go to for your masters. Sometimes even after your masters, you need to go for your PhD. Learning is something that doesn't stop. You need to keep learning. This is what I mean by this. And from here, you can do research in the lab, work in the hospital, and even sometimes you can explore microbes in space. And I don't know if you guys have heard of astrobiology. And trying to study life out of in space has to do with you studying microorganisms in space. And you have to be open to different parts. Some microbiologists study diseases, some study the ocean, soil, or things related to climate change, like I do. And some work in food or space or even crime labs. Crime labs. Can you move to the next slide? And the last thing is that we need to appreciate the microscopic world. And they are like enablers. Without microbes, life would cease to exist as we are. And even though they are invisible, they are the majority of the world. Microbes might be small, but microbiologists make a very big impact. And you can save lives, protect the planet, and discover the unknown. So, like I will say to all of you, keep exploring, and science needs a curious mind like yours. Thank you.